Thanks for joining us online today. If you've been impacted by this ministry and have a story to share of how God is working in your life, we would love to hear it. Send an email to amen@anchorpoint.tv. Also, you can help bring messages just like this one to others who need to hear the hope and the love of Jesus by investing today at anchorpoint.tv/give. Now, we hope you enjoy today's message.
I'm excited to preach to you. If I hadn't had the opportunity to meet you, my name is Todd, and along with my wife Avery, get the opportunity to serve as your lead pastors. And it's really the joy of our life to be able to invest in you, invest in your family and your growth. And we are thankful that you would entrust us with that. And maybe you don't hear this a lot in your life, but I want you to know we love you. We love you so much. We're praying for you. We believe God for you. When you feel like your faith's a little weak, you can borrow some of ours because we're believing that God is going to move and operate on your behalf. And man, we just love to get to share this life with you. I think that's part of the joy of Christianity is we don't have to do it on our own. We get a group to do it with. And I don't know, maybe I'm a little biased, but I don't know if there's a better group to hang out with. But and we just love what God's doing. We're in a part number 2 of a series we started last week called Fierce Faith. If you got your Bibles, go ahead and grab them. If you got your message notes, go ahead and grab those things as well. Because, man, I love talking about faith. Faith fires me up. And I feel like sometimes if you come here for a year or more, you'll probably hear at least one series and maybe sometimes 2 series on faith because it's such a basic component of our Christian system that you'll never have enough certainty to not need faith. Faith's always going to be required to reach God's full potential for your life. It just is. Faith is just one of those elements that you're going to have to grab hold of. And I think if we're honest, we don't always have fierce faith. We don't always. Sometimes we got struggling faith and weak faith, and that's why I love preaching on this. In fact, the title of the series came from looking at Bible characters and people that I read about in Scripture who, when you look at their life circumstance, man, they had every reason to doubt God. They have every reason to walk away from Him. They had every reason not to trust Him, but instead they chose to walk with God and have fierce faith. And I told you last week, man, my goal, I'm here to be your personal trainer on faith. I'm here to get in your face a little bit on faith. I'm here to motivate you and push you a little bit on faith, to stir something in you to have faith, man. And I chose that word fierce because it means intense. I want intense faith. I want some Monday morning faith, not Sunday faith. I want faith that shows up on Wednesday and works on Thursday. Come on, somebody. I want some faith that's willing to move in my life. I want faith that'll believe God in the middle of the struggle, that He's always going to come through when I have no idea how He can come through. That's the kind of faith that I'm after. And to kind of get this context, we've been looking at an Old Testament character with a weird name. And if you got to use your table of contents to find this book, that's fine. There's a little 3-chapter book in the Old Testament called Habakkuk. And we learned last week, as we kind of dived into this character, that we wanted to learn to trust God's faithful even in our darkness. We wanted to trust His faithfulness even in the middle of our darkness, because everybody in this room is going to have dark seasons and dark times. And in fact, we had a little graph that we showed you last week just to get everybody caught up. We'll throw it on the screens. And I didn't come up with this graph. In fact, one of the books I'm reading during this series is from Pastor Craig Rochelle. It's called Hope in the Dark. And if you've experienced tragedy, or you know someone who has, or difficult moments, then this is a book I would recommend. But he kind of gives this idea from Henry Blackaby called a COB. If you were here last week, you know that means crisis of belief. And a lot of times when I started my faith journey, I kind of thought I was going to start here and end up here. But that's not the way life works. We have these, sometimes they're little things, and sometimes they're incredibly large things. And then we have this, go ahead and show them the next slide. We kind of came down to this area of our graph, and we said, hey, that's the dip. And we all go through the season in our life that it feels like our faith dips and our life dips and nothing works out and nothing kind of does the way you thought it would. And the reality is it's dark in the dip. And I've learned that darkness will shout at you to doubt God while the faith inside of you whispers, trust Him. And we gotta kind of climb. And when you look at that next side of the mountain, we got to climb. So I have another slide that kind of sets up tonight. There's this spot in the bottom of the dip called where we are, and there's this upside, this climb that we got to make. That's where we hope to be. And man, that's a long road in our life. And the season in between those two things is what I call the waiting. And for my title tonight, I just want to kind of speak to you from the concept of it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. I remember waiting for my wife and waiting years and years and years. And I want to tell you, man, waiting for Avery was the best thing I did. She was worth the wait. I remember back in the day, 1988, when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out. Come on, somebody. Where my 80 kids at? Come on. I'm talking Super Mario and Contra. Up, up, down, down, left, right, B8 star. Come on, I'm speaking in tongues. Anyway, somebody's like, what's that? You know? And man, I remember I wanted it so bad, but my mom said, you're going to have to wait. You're going to have to get the right grades. You have to do the right things. You're going to have to wait. I'm telling you right now, man, I played that thing like crazy. It was worth the wait. Waiting for God's direction. I'm telling you, waiting for God's plan for your life. It is worth the wait. But I have a confession to make to you. I hate waiting. I hate to wait. In fact, I don't know anybody that likes to wait. In fact, if I ask who in here likes to wait, there's always a weird person to raise their hand, kind of like, who doesn't like coffee? And like, there's always a couple like, yeah, we don't understand you. I mean, but we all hate to wait. And man, I'm telling you, I'm working on this. I feel like God's working on it for me. The thing I love about this sermon is it's a lot easier for me to tell you how to wait than it is for me to wait, okay? So I give really good advice, and I've gotten better over my years, but the reality is it's incredibly hard for me to wait. Now, I'm a bad waiter, I really am, but I'm not the worst waiter in my home. In fact, I have 2 kids, 8 and 5, and they are horrible waiters. Any parents know what I'm talking about? I'm telling you, they cannot wait for anything. I mean, it can be as little as dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. And I got a 5-year-old. I don't know if you're 5. I know your 5-year-old is saved and holy. My 5-year-old's a hellion, okay? That's what he is. Because he'll be like, Dad, I'm hungry. I'm like, dinner will be ready in 20 minutes. And he does, like, some of you got teenagers that do this, like, And here's what he would say, word for word. But Dad, I'm starving to death. I'm like, to death? To death. Now, if you know Graham's a little husky. It'll take him a while to start. Hate to wait. Like when I take them to Chick-fil-A and the line's real long, like, Dad, but it's long. I'm like, yeah, but it's Chick-fil-A. In fact, I'm convinced that you could actually go back in time by getting food at Chick-fil-A. You don't lose 15 minutes, you gain an hour, and it's their pleasure. It's amazing. Kids today don't know what it's like to wait. Now, back in my day, we had, who remembers a Sears wish book? Come on, somebody. Man, I said that at like 11:30, like 4 people raised their hand. I'm like, man, I'm getting old. Man, back in the day, we didn't have Amazon Prime. You couldn't get nothing in 2 days. No. And y'all think Christmas starts early now? That wish book came out in September. Because that's right, because it takes 3 months for the snail mail to get you what's going on. And you get that wish book, and you'd circle things, and you rip out pages, and you give them to your mom. And if you badgered her too much, she'd give you socks and underwear for Christmas. Hate to wait. But the reality is we're all going to wait. In fact, I did some studies. I looked it up on the internet, so you know it's true if it's on the internet, right? You're actually going to spend about 6 months of your entire life waiting in a line of some kind. You're going to spend a month and a half of your life waiting on hold on the phone. You're going to spend 873 days waiting in spring break traffic on 59. And I'm not bitter. Maybe just a little. That's a made-up statistic, but it feels like it's true this week. Amen? We love you if you're here for spring break, but you can go home when you're ready. Anyway. And we're going to wait for things like that, but the more I looked at it, I think everybody in this room is going to spend time waiting for a spiritual breakthrough. You're going to spend time waiting for the salvation of a mom or a dad or a son or a daughter or a family member. You're going to spend time in your life waiting for direction and for God's plan and for God's purpose. You're going to spend time waiting for God to open a door for a new job or a new opportunity. You're going to have to spend time waiting in your life to find some type of meaning to that tragedy that you experience. Sometimes you have to wait to be healed from the hurt or the abuse or the betrayal. We all kind of find our time in life that it's spent, everybody's going to spend waiting. But the reality is the way you wait is up to you. And if you're a note taker, and I hope you are tonight, I want you to jot this down, that the way you wait determines if it's wasted or useful. In fact, if you don't get anything else, I'll really say tonight, I hope you get more out of the message than that. But if you got this, I think it would help you that the way we wait determines if it's wasted or useful, because we can wait with frustration or expectation. You can wait with frustration about what hasn't happened or expectation of what God's about to do. I've learned that we can wait with fear or faith. You can wait with fear of the unknown, fear that God is not going to move, or you can wait with faith that even while I'm waiting, that God is still working. And the problem, I think the rub tonight when it comes to waiting is nothing burns through motivation faster than waiting. And man, last week I came out here and I was fired up. I was like the Tasmanian devil, Neil. I watched myself on film and I was like, calm down, young man. So I'm trying to be a little bit more calm tonight. But I wanted to fire you up last week. I wanted to motivate you. But here's what I know. Me firing you up and me inspiring you and me motivating, and that's one of my goals. I want to do that. But the reality is that fades quickly because nothing burns through motivation like your New Year's resolutions. You were motivated. The diet, you were motivated. Nothing burns through that more quickly than waiting. And what I figured out is sometimes when we're waiting, if we're honest, we can feel forgotten. And when we're waiting, we can kind of feel empty on the inside, and we can kind of feel lost with direction when we're waiting. So I began to look at it a little bit differently, and I thought, well, what if while we're waiting, God is still working? What if while we're waiting, God is teaching me to trust Him more? What if while I'm waiting, God is developing a dependency upon Him? What if while I'm waiting, God is doing things that I cannot see for my future that I don't even know about yet, but God is still working? Because everybody I've ever looked at in my life and said they have fierce faith, everybody I've ever looked at in my life and said, man, they are giants in the faith, I don't know not one of them who has not went through a season of waiting. So the question is not why do you wait? The question is not will you wait? The question is how should we wait? What should it look like in our life? And we just want to kind of spend a month with Habakkuk. And in chapter 2, he kind of gives us a picture of what it looks like. And we ended last week's message with chapter 1. And if you weren't here, let me kind of set it up, man. Habakkuk was complaining to God about why he wasn't doing things and the things that he was doing, why he was doing them like that. If I had to sum up chapter 1 in one word, it was why. And I love Habakkuk because he's raw, he's real, he's unfiltered. Habakkuk doesn't show up on a coffee mug or anything like that. He bears his soul to God, and God is not afraid of our questions, and he doesn't hold anything back. But if I had to sum up chapter 2 in a word, the word would be wait. And I think there's 3 little insights, 3 things that I can pull out of the scriptures tonight to help us in this season of waiting. If you're a note taker, jot them down. The first one is this. I think Habakkuk teaches us that you got to position yourself properly. That if you're in a season of waiting, you're in a season of not where you want to be. There's this huge gap, a mountain you got to climb. You got to position yourself properly, because the first step to success in any area of your life is being in the right position. I think this is why I hate watching 5-year-old soccer. Have you ever watched 5-year-old soccer? Have you seen this thing? It's not soccer. It's torture. Come on, parents. And then you invite your friends and your grandparents out there, and you make everybody else endure this thing, because the kids in 5-year-old soccer have no concept of position. The coach will put them in position before they kick the ball, but as soon as they kick the ball, all 8 of them in 5-year-old soccer will put their head down, focus on the ball. They all get in a big bunch, and they just follow the ball everywhere it goes. They don't care about the little white line that's called out of bounds. They will keep playing. They don't care about the coach. They don't care about the referee with a whistle. They will follow it into the sewer. They do not care. They have no. I would rather watch YouTube cat videos than 5-year-old soccer. Somebody's like, whoa, that's bad. That's bad. Because the whole time I'm thinking, if you would just stay in position, you could do so much better. I feel like telling our church tonight, says if you would just stay in position, you could do so much better. That if you would be in the right position in this season, God could do more than you ever dreamed. But you got to be in the position for God to do it, because we can have good intentions but miss God's best because we're out of position. Growing our faith and developing fierce faith has to do with position. Watch what it says in verse number 1 of chapter 2. Here's what it says. We'll throw it on the screen. This is Habakkuk talking. God, I don't understand why you're doing this thing, and I'm going to need you to answer me. Look what he says. I will stand at my guard post. and I will, say it with me, I will station myself on the lookout tower, and I will watch to see. I'm here to see what he, God, will, say it with me, say to me. Habakkuk positioned himself to hear from God. He did three things. He removed the distraction, he focused his effort, and he waited patiently. Three things: remove distraction, focus effort, and wait patiently. Extra note takers: remove distraction, wait patiently, and focus effort. I love that did you notice that he removed distractions and he got at his post, his guard tower? He stationed himself on a lookout. He got above the noise. He got away from people. He got away from this person and that person because he didn't need to hear what they had to say. He needed to hear what God has to say. And I found out that God doesn't have a problem speaking. We have a problem listening. God's always speaking. He's speaking through his word. He's speaking by his spirit. He's speaking in a sermon. He speaks in a song. He speaks through a thought or an impression. He speaks through a godly person in your life. God is always speaking, but he's never competing. What does that mean? That means God is not competing with everything else you got going on in your life, but he's always speaking. God's not competing with ESPN. God's not competing with HGTV. I'm up in your house tonight, all right? God's not competing with Facebook. He's not competing with Instagram. He's not competing with your hobby life. In fact, I'm convinced that sometimes the reason that we don't hear God the way we would like to or the way we think we should is we often won't stay still long enough. And Habakkuk said, I'm going to get where I can hear God. And God, I'm not moving until you speak to me. And man, that's what I want for you. You want to hear God's voice? Get in position. You want to hear God's voice? Remove distraction. Because I think too many times we come into church and it's like, man, the band is playing, the song is moving, God is here. And we're like, God, I want to hear your voice. How many times are we going to sing this song? You know, it's like the pastor gets up there. Or we sit down at a message and we're like, God, I really need a word from you. And we pull out our message notes and we start making our grocery list. Because we found them after you leave the service. Imagine being me, yeah. I'm not depressed or nothing. Don't worry about that, you know. All this work and you making a grocery list, you know. I just want you to get your grocery list. Anyway. But I wonder what it would be like if we came in here in position. Like, I wonder what it would be like if you didn't wait for the pastor to get up at the end of the worship set and say, raise your hands, but you came in here with your hands lifted up from the first song or the first note saying, God, I have come to meet with you, and I got a praise on my lips, and I got a joy in my heart. I wonder what it would be like for people to say, you know what, God, I'm hungry for you. God, I got to have a word from you. So I'm grabbing my pen, and I'm grabbing this note sheet that he gave me, and I don't need a word from Todd, but I do need a word from God. So if you got something for me tonight, God, I'm ready. God, I'm attentive. God, I'm focused. God, I want you to speak to me because I can't leave the same way I came. You got to get in position to hear God. If you don't, that will determine if it's wasted or useful, because here's what I found out. Waiting will either build your character or it will build a barrier between you and God. The choice is yours. Waiting will ever develop your patience, or waiting will deplete your strength. The choice is up to you. Waiting will either grow your expectation or waiting will grow your anxiety. The choice is up to you, because it's tough to wait, especially when it feels like you're waiting and everybody else is receiving. You're waiting and everybody else is growing. You're waiting and everybody else is accomplishing things. And here, you listen to me, it takes as much faith to stay and wait as it does to step out and go. And sometimes God says you're waiting, not because he is punishing you, but because he is protecting you. Parents know this. The reason you put limits on things is not to punish. The reason, dads, you tell your daughters they can't date till they're 84. Come on, you know. It's not to punish them, it's to protect them. The reason parents say we're not going there, and we're not watching that yet, and we're not doing that yet. You're not doing it to punish them, you're doing it to protect them. So when God tells you not yet, don't be that kid, but say, but why? Don't be that kid. When God says not yet, ask God, what now? Okay, not yet, what now then, God? What are you speaking right now in this season? What are you teaching me right now in this season? What assignment do you have for me while I wait, God? Because I'll wait for you. I'll accept the not yet, but I want to be in position to receive from you and hear you when you call. Get in position. Second thing is this, jot it down. Jot it down. We got to trust God's timing. We got to trust God's timing. Now, the reason I think we hate to wait is because we feel like we're wasting time, like nothing's happening. And the reason I kind of feel like that is because of the way that we wait. Because the reality is, like, if you go to Walmart and you got your big buggy full of stuff there and you're going down, you got your shopping cart, and you know they got 800 cash registers and 2 cashiers. Come on, you know what I'm talking about. You walk down and you're like, oh, 3 people, 4 people, ooh, 1 person. And you get in that line, but you realize they got like 8 buggies stacked on top of it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man. And then they got the self-checkout. I don't even do the self-checkout. I'm not doing their job for them. I'm going to wait. Anyway, and then you get in one line, but this other line starts to move a little quicker, and you're just trying to decide, like, do I go? Do I not go? Do I go? Do I not go? And then somebody else pops in line. You're like, man. It's worse than traffic, man. When you're on 59 South and, like, one lane is moving, you know, like if you're at a stoplight and, like, one's way up here and one's back here, so you pull out and you get, like, a whole 2 car lengths up, and you're like, yeah, stick it to the man. You know, it's awesome. Feel like you accomplished something. And then, like, maybe you're headed to 59 North, and, you know, right there at Tanger, that right lane ends, and, man, the line's back up. Don't you hate that person that comes up that lane? You know what I'm talking about? How many of you are that person? Don't raise your hand. I don't have enough anointing oil to get the demon out of you. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I don't just rebuke you. I got road rage for you, because if I see you in my mirror, I'm going to put my big Dodge truck in half my lane and half your lane. Get in the wait right the rest of us. Hate waiting, man. I hate waiting for late people. I got to be careful right here. I got to be careful. I just don't understand late people. I don't understand, like I don't understand. I mean, like, nobody's surprised by the time things start. And so a lot of times I'm ready before other people in my home, name my wife. Yeah, I'm looking at the camera. Because I would rather not go to an event than be late for the event. That's just the way I am. She seems to not care about this. And so I'm out there waiting and bowling and waiting and getting frustrated because you know why we hate waiting? Because we feel like nothing's being accomplished. Because in the English language, the word wait means to stop. But in your Hebrew language, the word wait has this word picture of trust and expectation. So let me say it like this. Our waiting is passive. God's waiting is active. So with that in mind, I want you to hear this next verse. Hear what God says to Habakkuk. Verse number 3 says this, the Lord answered me. So this is God now speaking to Habakkuk. Write down this vision and clearly inscribe it on tablets so that one may easily read it. For the vision is yet for the appointed, say it with me, the appointed time. If you're a note taker, circle the 2 words, appointed time. The appointed time, that's key. It testifies about the end, and it will not lie. I love this line. Though it delays, say it with me, wait for it. Man, I want to preach for that. Wait for it. Wait for it. In a minute, I'm going to preach it. Wait for it. It certainly will come, and it will not be late. The word appointed time, Craig Groeschel says in his book, is the unstoppable time of God. And in Hope in the Dark, he says it like this. The appointed time, if it's not God's time, you can't force it. When it is God's time, you can't stop it. That God's got a time, and to trust God is to trust His timing. And we got to understand this, because time waiting is not time wasted if we use it for the right things. That if God has promised you something, you may have to wait, but it will come to pass. So I've just decided that while I wait, I'm going to worship Him. While I wait, I'm going to grow. While I wait, I'm going to learn. While I wait, I'm going to develop in something. While I wait, I'm going to harness the power of waiting. Isaiah said it like this: those who wait upon the Lord, they will renew their strength, and they will mount up with wings like eagles. I love that picture because an eagle uses the wind that is against them to soar above any problem or pressure. And I wish we could wait like that, where we feel like the thing that is coming against us, God will use to our advantage. Because I'm convinced that sometimes the greater thing is not what you're waiting for, but what God is doing in you while you wait. In fact, I'm convinced that sometimes God is building strength in you now for a battle you have yet to fight. So I'm going to wait. The problem is to trust God is to trust His timing, and God just seems unmotivated by my timetable. Do y'all figure this out? Y'all figure this one out? There's a few holy people here, and they not me. Well, sometimes I feel like God's slow. I feel like God a blue tag in the left-hand lane. I was like, God, you got to get on with it, God. You know, and you can act like you don't feel. I just do. I feel like God should. And sometimes when you're waiting, like a not yet that we talked about, a not yet can feel like a not forever. And you kind of get the spirit of the saying lot, forever. And we mistake waiting as the destination of our journey instead of a season on our journey. And I found out, I think a lot of times when I wait, I build a house where God called me to build strength. You know, I brought a picture to kind of help us with that. I think a lot of times I build a house where God has called me to build strength. God, I'm in this dip, and we believe the lie that it's never going to change. And we hang out down there. And we hang there in that situation so long because we've been waiting and God hasn't been moving that we begin to tell people about it. And there's usually a person that just you know, and I've just been waiting on God for a really long time. And I've been doing my best. Y'all know I do my best. I mean, I just pray and I just try and I just give. And y'all know me. I give and I give and I give. And then look at my life just full of crap. I mean, it just is. You know, well, it never worked. So my life is always going to be this way, and nobody even stops by and cares about me no more. And we throw a pity party, and we invite people to our pity party. Can I just tell you, for your family, this is from your family, we're tired of coming to your pity party. We're just tired of it. Hey, find you a small group leader or a counselor, talk about it all you want, but every family dinner is not an opportunity to tell us about it. Because we want people down here wallowing with us. Instead of saying things like, I'm always going to be this way, what if you had an attitude of faith? Instead of saying things like, I'm always going to be addicted, I'm always going to be hurt, what if you had an attitude of faith? What instead of having a pity party, you had a faith party and started inviting people to that? Saying, God, I want people who surround me, who believe for me. I want people to say, when I say I'm always going to be hurting, no, you're always going to be healed. I'm always going to be addicted, not by the blood of Jesus. He cuts the captive free. I don't have to live my life like this. And I know I got a long way up this hill, but I got a God that not only will help me, I got a God that will lead me, I got a God that will guide me, I got a God that will get in front of me, He'll pull me up this mountain, I got a God that will show up in the middle of the midnight, and my darkness don't scare Him, and my doubt don't scare Him, because God is with me. Can I tell you something? Don't make a permanent decision based on temporary pain. No, don't build a house where you're supposed to pass through. Because I read in Psalm 23, when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, He led the children of Israel through the Red Sea. He led the children of Israel through the wilderness. My God always leads His people through. If He brought you to it, He'll lead you through it, but you got to trust Him. So don't make decisions in this season that don't line up with faith, because your eyes will fool you. In this season, you'll look at that mountain and think there's no way, and I can't. But listen to me, we don't walk by sight. We walk by faith. In fact, verse 4 says it. Watch what God says in verse number 4 of this. He says this. He said, look Habakkuk, look at his ego. That's Babylon. Look at Babylon's ego and their pride. They have no integrity. And he contrasts that with his people. But the righteous one, he's going to have to endure this waiting season by his what? Faith. You got to have faith to get through the waiting. You got to have faith when it doesn't work out the way you want. And our faith is based on his faithfulness. So when you're waiting, trust God with today because he was faithful yesterday. Trust his timing. You've not been forgotten and you've not been abandoned. God's always come through for his people. The last thing is this, and we'll close, as we wait with hope. If you're going to wait with hope. If you're going to wait with hope. Habakkuk had to wait for a long time for this vision, this prophecy to come to pass. In fact, most scholars believe it was somewhere around 3 to 6 decades. And one scholar read, I want to zero in on 4 decades. That's 40 years. That seems to be a number that God uses a lot. 1.5 to 2 generations passed away to see this happen, but God ultimately fulfilled his promise, which lets me know just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean God isn't going to do it. And it's kind of interesting to text. Go ahead and throw my verse up there because we jumped down from verse number 4 to verse number 20. And all you theologians in the room are thinking, like, what happened verses 5 through 19? Well, verses 5 through 19, God tells Habakkuk, the Babylonians aren't my people. Because remember, Habakkuk said, God, how can you use them? How can you use evil people? How can the wicked people prosper? And God says, Habakkuk, let me tell you, for 16 verses, he says, don't worry about them. They'll get theirs. They're not getting away with anything. But I'm going to do it in my way and in my time. And I just want to speak to every person in this room. I'm looking on the news, sharing posts on Facebook, thinking people's getting away with stuff. Our God judges justly. And everybody in this room and everybody's going to have a time where they have to give an account. So you don't have to fear, the wicked people, they're getting away with stuff. They're not getting away with anything, guys. And for 16 verses, God says, I'm going to do it. But it's going to be my way and my time. Because Habakkuk, you're still mine. Israel's still mine. The people of God, you're still mine. And it gets to, this is the last verse of chapter 20. Still no resolution of chapter 2, verse 20. And here's what he says. He says, say it with me, but the Lord. I love those three. Those 3 words will change your life when you're waiting. When you're waiting for your next assignment, when you're waiting for your purpose, when you're waiting for your spouse, when you're waiting for your son or daughter to come home to Jesus, when you're waiting for your healing, you need to hear the verse number 20 of chapter 2 when he says, but the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent in his presence. And I learned that I may not get to choose when I wait, and I may not get to choose why I wait, but I always get to choose how I wait. And God tells Habakkuk, I know you don't like it. And I love when God speaks about it himself. He says, because I'm still on my throne, Habakkuk. And I just need to remind you, it's not going to be how you want. It's not going to be when you want, but I'm still in charge, Habakkuk. I know you don't understand what I'm doing right now. And I know you can't figure it out. And you think it's unfair. And you don't think I should be acting this way. But let me tell you something, Habakkuk. I'm still God and I'm still in control. I want to remind some of you tonight, you're in that season that God is still God and God is still good. I want to remind you that he works all things for your good and his glory. Now, I don't know how he does that. I don't know how he uses tragedy for your good. I don't know how he uses abuse for his glory. I don't know how he uses destruction. I don't know how he uses tragedy. I don't know how he uses failure. I know that he uses it. And Romans 8:28 says he's working in all things to bring about some kind of good in some kind of way. So I want to remind you this evening that the God you feel like abandoned you is the God who is present with you. I want to remind you this evening that thing that you wish you would get away is making you better and it's making you stronger. And if it makes you better, it can't make you bitter. God, I want to remind you that he's with you in this season. He's not abandoned you. What if in the waiting is where God is most at work? What if in the waiting is where God is most glorified? What if in the waiting is where God is most present? What if in the lack is where you clearly see His abundance? What if in what you can't do is where you know without a shadow of a doubt only God can do something? What if it's in the waiting? Because your Bible is filled with waiting. The Israel people waited 400 years in Egypt, and God came through. They waited 40 years in a wilderness, waiting for a promised land, and God came through. They waited thousands of years for a Messiah, and God came through. I'm telling you, I don't know what you're waiting for, but I know that He did something yesterday that I'm going to trust Him for today. God always comes through, and when I wait on Him, it's worth the wait. Jesus said, if I go away, I will come again. And here I am today, I'm waiting. But I'm not waiting with grief. I'm not waiting with worry. I'm waiting for Him to step on a cloud and call me home. And one day, it's not spiritual pie in the sky. I'm going to see my Maker for the very first time. I'm going to meet Him. It's going to be awesome. But right now, I'm waiting. I'm waiting. And the way I wait will determine if it's wasted. Don't you dare waste your wait.